making light.
Please welcome Madeline Para.
Oh man, I didn't think I was I didn't realize I was gonna have to follow the energy of that act. What did I do to myself? I'll get right on that. Well, in case you're wondering, that was Zeelan Juggler from Tigray, Ethiopia, now residing in Baltimore. And yeah. He's been performing professionally since 2007, including touring Europe and on cruise ships, and you can see why. We're an organization that believes in and values practice. For example, we think that with practice, anybody can become an effective citizen lobbyist and an effective communicator. And can you just imagine how much Zeelan practices? Okay, so let's do like him. And so let me just officially welcome you to the 14th International Citizens Climate Conference. We are back in DC, which we were last year, but now we're also back to lobbying on the Hill. And there are almost 1,000 of us here. And yeah. And last count I got, we have 412 meetings. I think they're still coming in. You guys are flexibly dealing with everything like you always do, so thank you. But can you tell? The lobbying reboot has arrived. We also have 63 youth lobbyists this year, folks under 18. A CCL record. And we have distinguished guests from Ghana that you'll meet in a bit, and there are people here from, yes, every state in the United States. So good work, congratulations. We're showing up strong in other ways also. You might remember in April, we challenged you to have 500 outreach events, and do you know how many you reported? 850. Thank you. Doesn't it feel good to get back out there tabling and presenting and talking to people? I loved the pictures that were up there earlier. And since we started the Climate Action Program in January, you have written and called Congress a total of 27,210 times in response to our monthly alerts. And yes, you blew away our goal of 5,000 in the week leading up to the conference, so good job. Yes, so much progress, so much progress. So we're lobbying Tuesday on carbon pricing and clean energy permitting reform, as you know. And our carbon pricing agenda is poised to move forward. We anticipate the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act being reintroduced in the near future. Do we know what near future means? Come on, people, it's Congress, but in the near future. And with the introduction last week of the Prove It Act, which lays the groundwork for a carbon border adjustment mechanism, we've got that leg of our proposal out there in a bipartisan bill. So I truly do hear wonderful things about how our policy agenda is working out in the field from our group leaders. You are trying all kinds of things. Some of you are picking like one thing to concentrate on. Some of you are finding experts in your local community to help you and dividing up into committees. You've used it for new outreach. It's been really wonderful to watch and hear about. I also hear from our government affairs team about how many doors have opened to them in congressional offices as they have multiple things to talk to them about, trees and carbon border adjustment mechanisms and permitting reform. They are so busy, and it's been so good. And I felt that myself when I get out at conferences and meeting people. There are so many more ways to connect with folks in other organizations and find ways to work together. So I've loved how this has rolled out. For those of you who are new to CCL, for our first 15 years, we focused on educating Congress and on educating people in our communities on carbon fee and dividend, on carbon pricing, and that's because it's such a powerful policy for driving down emissions, and that was perfect. And with the package, the big package of climate legislation that passed late last year, actually it was August, I guess, felt like late last year, We moved ahead then with our expanded climate agenda, and that made sense. So we continue our advocacy for carbon pricing, and we now advocate for clean energy permitting reform, healthy forests, and building electrification alongside that. And I just want to say, as we've evolved into this new area of work for us, we're still true to our roots. And so I wonder how many of you were in the room in 2013, which was about my second time here, when Marshall Saunders, our founder, he did his "We Are Building a Peaceful Army" talk. Yeah, I know there's a bunch of you. I think anybody who was there in 2013 will never forget that, especially the endings, so we're going to play it for you.
We are building an army, a peaceful army. And our weapons are truth and nonviolence, and as we keep saying over again, respect and admiration for those who would oppose us. You and I are engaged in a battle for all of life. All of life. Not just humankind, but for all of life. I don't see anybody else coming. When you get in a dire situation, the cavalry shows up, right? Well, I'm sure of it. You are the cavalry. We are the cavalry. And we're going to win. And there's no choice about it. There's no choice. We're going to win.
I'd already given my heart to this organization by then, but it gets it all over again every time I watch that. When I learned about the climate crisis, I felt exactly how Marshall described it. There was no choice about it. And this was the thing I had to commit to, even though I was really happy being a first grade teacher at the time. So one thing led to another at that point, and I found CCL, and I knew right away that CCL was the place for me. Its mission, our way of doing things, it just resonated so deeply. And like I said, I fell in love with the organization, and that never changed. And so I jumped in and started a chapter in Madison, Wisconsin. That was what you did back then, and it was chapter number 25. And we quickly realized, looking around our state, that if we wanted to reach our bipartisan goals, we'd have to get outside of our very liberal city. And so our little group made it a priority to start chapters all over the state. And we got pretty good at it, and we became a little bit known for how many badgers we would send to the conference back then, and for having multiple chapters in every congressional district in our state. And I have to say that was a pile of fun for me. Because really, in my heart, I'm an organizer. So through the years since 2011, when I started that chapter, I've taken on a lot of roles in CCL. And when our founding executive director, Mark Reynolds, decided to transition to the board, I became your executive director early last year, and it's been such a privilege and an honor. Thank you. So one of the surprises of becoming executive director was how much I enjoyed connecting with leaders of other organizations, because I still think of myself as a shy person. And just getting out and representing you and the organization in different places. And our reputation is so amazing out there, and it's because of you and because of how you are, the integrity that you bring to it, the relationship building, the thoughtful listening, the knowledge that you bring. People notice that. You stand out in the crowd. And so, when I go out there representing you, like they've already encountered you and their hearts are already warm, and boy, it makes that easy. They're just so eager to work with us on our agenda. So again, that's been super fun. And then I've also put a lot of energy in another place that surprised me, into doing fundraising for the organization. And that's both because of the challenging economic times that we've been in, and also because I want us to have the resources that we need to play the vitally important role that we play in this country and for the climate. And so I do that. I believe that all of us have things in abundance to give, you know. Some of us have time in abundance. Some of us have ideas in abundance. Some of us have skills. Some of us have money in abundance. We all have different things. And the work that I love doing is finding out what people have in abundance to give and helping them get matched up in the right way for CCL. So fundraising and organizing are actually very similar. That's what I've learned. In both cases, you go out and you meet a lot of different people. You make a personal connection. You watch for people for whom our mission lines up with their deepest hopes. And then we invite them to invest whatever it is that they have, time or money or connections in the organization and in our advocacy. And, so it's about inviting people to invest what they have in a way that fulfills them. So I hope that's what's happening for you. And in the case of organizing groups, then you look for people who want to invest their time and develop themselves by leading in CCL. And in the case of funding, it's people for whom what they want to invest in is money, or to help connect to people who want to do that. And I've always thought of it as being like fishing. You get to enjoy being outside or in a conference room. You keep throwing the hook in the water over and over until you bring in a fish. And a lot of attempts don't land immediately with the fish. And so you enjoy the process and the sunshine and what you learn about the fish. And yourself. Some days you catch one, and some days you just learn a lot of things that make you a better fisher person the next time. I think this is resonating. So here's what I've learned about myself as executive director. The most meaningful part of the job for me, and the part where I get to excel, is where my own true abundance is the part that looks and feels like organizing to me, and where I talk with people, and where about working with us as partners or as financial supporters, and where I support you all. And so that speaks to a transition that I'm making after the conference. I am going to transition back to being president, and Mark Reynolds is going to transition back to being acting executive director. I like that reaction. I love that reaction. Thank you. I am excited to focus on organizational and development partnerships, and Mark will focus on leading the organization at this pivotal time, and we will both, of course, love and support you along with all the staff. Okay, so that's me. Thank you for that. And now I want you to think about you and the role that you play in CCL. Because like me, you have a history of doing, some of you anyway, have a history of doing different roles. And that's a good thing. And then some of you are newer and you're trying to figure out your role, and so try lots of things. That's my advice to you. Because you want to find the right role with the right level of challenge and the right level of pleasure for you. And once in a while you might land in the wrong role and nobly keep at it because you can't see anyone else coming, as Marshall said. And so I encourage you to keep working towards putting yourself in whatever is the right role for you, because that's what will keep you there for the long run. So find your own place of abundance, switch out if you need to, and trust that someone else will come in. That's, in my experience, pretty much always what happens, or else that thing just doesn't need to happen right then. So there's a time to boldly step into a new role, and there's a time to step out of a role that isn't right for you and make room for someone else. You know, all of us are here because we're committed to building a peaceful army. We're committed to something bigger than ourselves, and it's something that we want very badly. We are to use a word coined by Lynn Twist, proactivists. We're here for what we're for. And a proactivist is someone who's for and not against. And that means that you're working from a vision of what you want in the world, because that's what you're for. And you take a stand for that vision. So we take a stand for a functional Congress here. I lost my place. Oh, but it's right there on the paper. Thank you. We take a stand, I like this part too, for humanity coming together to solve its biggest problems, to solve climate. And you have your own words, what you take a stand for. Find your own words. We take a stand for, fill in your blank there. That's what you're for. You know, and then we figure out what's in the way, and we work on transforming those barriers. And Marshall would love these words, with love, creativity, and persistence. That's what we do. So on Tuesday, we're going to have our first big lobby day on the Hill since before the pandemic. And from our opening expression of gratitude to our respectful listening and our thoughtful dialogue in those offices, we will embody the best of American democracy. We will. And embody it, brought to bear on the most important issue ever facing humanity. We are what this country needs. So thank you for being here.
So as Madeline said, we spent a decade and a half working on one thing. And then we were an organization that was ready to expand our agenda. And we did expand the agenda. And so we've all embraced that, and we're working on it. And we are working more effectively than we ever have with Congress because we have a broader set of tools to bring to them. So you and I have all gone through that the way that we went through it. What I want you to just imagine with me for a moment right now, what it was like to steward an organization through that. And you knew that when that happened, some people would love it, and some people would really love it. And some people would hate it, and some people would really hate it, and it would cost us some good people. And you did that. So could we all thank Madeline for getting us through that process again one more time?
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, love you.
Love you too.
All right.
Okay, but wait, there's more in this opening. I really am very excited about having some folks from Ghana here, and so Joe is going to come up and introduce them. So, and here he comes. Go ahead.
I'll do that. So I'm Joe Robertson. I'm Executive Director of Citizens Climate International. The first time I was here was back in 2010 when there were 25 of us. And it's just amazing to see all of you here, especially after everything we've been through. Yeah, come on up. So I'm here to make a special announcement, which is that for the first time we have a visiting delegation of lawmakers from another country coming to be part of the Citizens Climate Conference. So we have the Honorable Yves Hansen Norte, Vice Chair of the Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation Committee from the constituency of Tema Central. Previous Vice Chair of the Youth, Sports, and Culture Committee, and also a former investment company CEO. And we have the Honorable Ebenezer Oklete Terlabi, Ranking Member of the Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation Committee from the Lower Manya constituency. In his third legislative term, former Deputy Defense Minister and former lecturer at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. So for those of you who want to have a deeper exchange with them, there will be a breakout tomorrow at 1:30 where we'll have a moderated discussion. You're welcome to join. And now I'd just like to ask them to say a few words of their own.
Well, thank you very much. Let me say good morning to everybody. And thank you for the opportunity to be part of this group. In fact, this is our first time, as he said. And when we had the invitation, we did a little background check on this group. And we realized that your focus is not too different from what we have in Ghana. As we stand here, we come from two different political parties. We are here because and it tells you that when it comes to climate issues, we don't have any differences. It's a bipartisan approach. And I must say that when you come to the Parliament of Ghana, we have a group which may be likened to what we have here. And our approach is always bipartisan. And we also leverage on our being members of Parliament to influence policies when it comes to climate. And we believe that our interaction with you would also make us learn a little from you, and then also tell you what we have been doing in our discussions going forward. And I believe that it would lead to a better and an improved relationship as we move ahead in fighting climate change. I thank you for this opportunity once more, and I hope you have a nice thank you very much.
So, a very good morning to all of you. Just as I'm Yves Hansen Norte, just as my colleague has said, we're here to share ideas and learn from each other. And obviously, you are a strong lobby group, I can tell. And we're here to learn from you as well, and also share our perspectives from a developing country's perspective on how we lobby and fight for the existential threats that affects all of us, not just those of us in the developing countries, but everybody who finds himself on this place called Earth. So, not to take too much of your time, we thank you so much for inviting us here. We'll hopefully meet with you again yesterday. We'll be here till tomorrow, but hopefully tomorrow we'll address some of your questions and we can have an interaction with all of you and then take it from there. Thank you very much.
I didn't staple my papers because I didn't have a stapler. Okay. Come on up. Okay. I want you to meet a new friend of mine, Riaz Patel. And he has been nominated for 2 Emmy Awards and an NAACP Image Award. And you might wonder why. And it's because he creates connection, conversation, and community through an entertainment experience. He's on a mission to help us be less lonely. That's what he said yesterday. I thought, this is a good mission. So some of us got to experience what Riaz does yesterday afternoon at the Saturday seminar, but I wanted you all to have a little taste, and so here he is.
Good morning. I think we live our lives now between two worlds. And there's the real world, and there's the screen world. And the problem is, post-pandemic, we all tumbled into the screen world. And although it can give you incredible contact and show you anyone and anything at any time, it cannot give you connection. And that's the only thing we can find here in the real world. And so what I want to do is take a moment for you all to meet each other. So if you haven't yet, just take a second and please introduce yourselves at your tables. Sometimes we sit down, we don't. So just take a second, introduce yourselves in the tables. All right, that's enough, that's enough. Allison wants to keep this on time, people. Allison needs to keep this on time. So now, hello. Oh, now you're off to the races. Okay, you don't need me. So what I want to do now is take a moment to show you, I believe so much in the power of connecting with strangers, that over the past few years, relationships with people we know have become somewhat fraught. And so strangers engage you just where you are. And so what I want to do is take a quick exercise to show you what connections you already have that you may not realize. So in Connect Effect, when we do the experience, this is yes. This is how we say yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read some statements. I would like you all to look at each other around your table, not me, look at each other. And if the statement applies to you, do this gesture of yes. And let's see how much you already have in common that you don't realize. How many of you have brothers? How many of you have sisters? How many of you are an only child? That always gets a laugh. I feel bad for only children. Now, here's another. How many of you are middle children? Ooh, middle children. How many of you, as a child, had an imaginary friend? At some point, ask what the name was. Apparently, yesterday, someone said that Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer used to make her go and play in traffic. So be very careful of those imaginary friends. Who here was a naughty child? You know who you are. Oh, I can see you two should not be sitting next to each other. How many of you were good students? You can be both. How many of you were bullied as a child? Bullied. How many of you often felt alone as a child? Who was the class clown? Who here was raised by a single parent? Anyone here raised by someone other than their parents? Who here was a Lego person? Yes, Lego people. Who here used to trade their packed lunch? Shame on you. Now that I'm a parent, I'm packing it and I'm like, I wonder if they're even going to eat it. Who here dreamt of being a rock star? Okay. Who here can cook? Okay. Who sings in the shower? Oh, more than I expected. Who here can dance? Okay, and who here would rather eat dirt than be forced to dance? Yeah. Who here is a dog person? Who here is a cat person? You can be both. Who here has a different pet? What do you have? A hedgehog. Oh, that's a first for me. I've never heard a hedgehog. Who's an early bird? Who gets up early? I hate you people. Who's a night owl? Who sometimes feels in their life at work or as a parent that they feel like an imposter? Who walks around feels like they carry anger? Who spends too much time on their screens? The two are very related, by the way. Who here worries a lot? Yeah. Who here sometimes feels alone? Who here is looking for friendship? Please note. Please note. Okay, who here is looking for love? Also, please note. Okay, the most vulnerable question I'm going to ask, who's a Taylor Swift fan? It's a safe space. Who promises themselves they will exercise every day but doesn't? Yes. Who's a late night snacker chronically? Okay. Who's an aggressive driver? Always so proud of themselves, these aggressive drivers. I don't understand it. Who has stopped watching the news because it's too depressing? And finally, and this is very vulnerable, who at Thanksgiving allows the side dishes to mix and blend? Stay away from these people. The whole point of this is to show when we meet people, we don't often see the connections that we have. And I would really, post-COVID, post a world of Zoom, I really implore you all to spend time getting to know people here, that it is also rare to be in a room of purpose-driven people. And every time I engage with CCL, I am so moved by that, that that's not the norm. That really is not the norm out there. So you already have that in common, not just the work, but that you believe in something bigger than yourselves and you're willing to give your time and energy and your heart to it. So you have that in common, and throughout the experience, I really hope you spend time getting to know new people, because each of you, in so many ways, are the solution to each other, to loneliness, to connection, for answers, for collaboration. Have a wonderful conference.
Please welcome Allison Cabisco.
Good morning. Thank you for being here, and thank you, Riaz, although I'll have to disagree with you. I love mixing the Thanksgiving dinner, and I'll raise you a leftover Thanksgiving sandwich. Well, thank you again for being here. It's so nice to see everyone here in DC, and I'm just going to go over a few logistics for you for the next few days. So when you registered with our amazing interns either last night or this morning, you should have received a folder that has all your materials for the conference. We have just enough for everyone, so please try to keep track of that, maybe write your name on the inside. So in there you'll have your program book, which will pretty much be your guide for the whole weekend. It has the conference schedule, the speaker lineup, breakout session descriptions, and there's maps in there that will be really helpful. So there's a map for the Metro and Capitol Hill and also the hotel here. And the Wi-Fi information is on the back cover as well. Also on the right side of your folder, you have a handout that we'll be using later on in the Insider's Guide to your Member of Congress, that breakout session later today. And there's also a meeting minutes form. On the left side of your folder, we have some index cards. So those are for when we have a question and answer period during the sessions. You can write your questions on the cards, and interns and staff will go around and collect your cards and ask your questions over the mic. On the left side, we also have your primary ask sheets. So there's two of each. There's the permitting reform asks and the energy innovation and carbon dividend asks. And you'll notice those are really nice, thick paper. So these are meant to be leave-behinds in the congressional office. So do not write on these. I know everyone loves to dig into the details and take notes, but do not write on those sheets. We gave you notebooks this year, so you can go ahead and write in those. So, oh, I forgot my clicker. I knew I was going to do that. If you are active on social media, we would love to see what you're excited about at the conference this weekend. And on page 4 in the program, we have some ideas on how to make a great post. and make sure that you follow CCL's accounts and tag us and use the conference hashtags. So let me just go over what we're doing today. So once I'm finished up here, we have 4 breakout sessions for you that start at 10:20. So if you're new to CCL or you want to brush up on your lobbying skills, we have our climate advocate training in the Palladium Ballroom. If you're a CCL chapter group leader, liaison, or state coordinator, you would go to the leadership training, which is just across the hall in the Ambassador Ballroom. We have a workshop, how to craft and tell climate solution stories. That will be right here in the Regency Ballroom. And then we have Building Political Will workshop, which is in the Empire Ballroom. So that will help you find your role in your chapter, and you'll also have a chance to meet with CCL staff to talk about specific topics. So after lunch, come back here for 2 p.m. We have a volunteer keynote panel. Then we'll have a legislative update with our government affairs staff, and they'll set us up for our breakout session that starts at 4 o'clock, the Insider's Guide to Working with Your Member of Congress. So there's one big change with this one. Go ahead and go in your program on page 7. I will let you write in your programs. We're just dividing up into 2 groups instead of 4. So it will just be Republicans and Democrats. So Republicans will be in the Ambassador Ballroom, and the Democrats will be in the Regency Ballroom. So don't worry about the Empire Room or Palladium. It's just here in Regency or Ambassador across the hall. Then we'll open up our game room after the dinner break. Tomorrow we have an exciting lineup too. So we have our keynote speakers coming in, Jamika Hodnett and Ambassador Francis Rooney. We have a plenary session about motivational interviewing. We have our breakout sessions and a closing keynote with Rachel Kite. So Mindy Ayler will go over some Lobby Day logistics with you tomorrow, so you'll be all set for Tuesday. But I just wanted to mention that we have a Lobby Day reception Tuesday night at 7 p.m. right here in this room. And even if you're not lobbying, you are invited to come to that reception. So we are really excited about having a big lobby day this year, and I'm sure you're already getting messages from your lobby teams about meeting to practice and prepare. So we do have some rooms open for you that you can meet with your teams. We have them open today and tomorrow for certain times, so go ahead and take a picture of this chart. And we also have this chart at the Lobby Day help desk and the registration desk upstairs, so you can see which rooms we have open. They are first come, first serve, so just go ahead and check that room to see if there are seats, and you can go ahead and meet your teams there. So that's it. Thank you so much. We're going to have a break so you can go ahead and find your breakout sessions that will start at 10:20. Thanks so much for being here.